available anywhere in the county. And about a third of our county is still without cell phone service. So from a business perspective, or from an economic development perspective, or from a recruitment perspective, would you want to move here? Would you want to move your business here? So we face some significant challenges in a rural community. To kind of give you an idea of who we are, and I'm the Economic Development Director for Huntingdon County. Our organization is called Huntingdon County Business and Industry. We are a 501c3 nonprofit with a board of directors. I have a staff of myself and 2 other full-time individuals. And we serve a couple of missions. We help businesses start, we help them expand, we help them grow, and we try to attract new businesses to the county, all while trying to develop infrastructure in the county that makes the community attractive to businesses. I have with me today Cody Wyan from Bonnie Forge Corporation. Bonnie Forge is a steel and valve manufacturer whose headquarters is located in Mount Union, Pennsylvania, in our business park. They also have locations in Houston, Texas, Italy, and China.
Correct.
And I'll give him the opportunity to talk a little more about the connection between those locations. And then I also have Corey Sisto with me. Corey's the Director of Personnel and also handles the IT services at Individual Family Counseling, Individual Family and Community Services, which is a health and human services provider, also located in our business park. So where is Huntingdon County? We're located in between State College and Altoona. We have Racetown Lake in our backyard. We're kind of almost geographically the center of the state. We have a population of about 45,000. We've actually been growing in population since the 1970s. We're one of the few western counties, or almost western counties, to still have population growth. If I were to throw up a map of the counties that are growing and shrinking, we're one of the last western ones to still be growing. We're geographically diverse. We've got a lot of natural resources, including state parks, mountains, and the lake. We're predominantly Caucasian, and we are an older community with a median age of 38, with 65, or 15% of our population being over the age of 65. So kind of to drill down into where we're at, Riverview Business Center, the acronym RBC. I apologize, my industry is notorious for acronyms, so if you don't understand one, please feel free to stop me. But we're kind of on the western, or the eastern edge of the county where we connect to Mifflin County. That's where the business park is. The 2 red areas are our population centers. And I hesitate to call them that because our population centers are 6,500 and 2,500. They're not very big, so some of you may be from communities where your individual neighborhood is bigger than some of our boroughs and townships. This is the business park. I do realize it's a little bit hard to see there, but the number 1 is Bonnie Forge. Number 2 is IFC. And in both cases, this is secondary locations inside the county. It's not their main location. Bonnie Forge is located across 522, and IFC is located currently in the borough of Mount Union. We are on the edge of the Shirley Township, which butts up against Mount Union Borough. Number 3, I wanted to point out to you guys, we used to have a company called FCI Electronics. They built electronic semiconductors. They closed their facility late 2013. At their height, they employed almost 1,400 individuals. Right before they left us, they employed about 140 individuals. And so we've got a 200,000 square foot facility, rather state of the art. It was only built in the 1990s. But we have no major highway access to our county. We have very little in the way of telecom services in our county, and it makes it very hard to refill that building. So we're looking at telecom opportunities as a way to attract businesses that might otherwise not even look at us. Also important to note is we're not a true industrial park. As I mentioned before, we have a health and human services provider. We've got a dentist, a financial institution, a financial services advisor, and a retail store inside our park. Just some notes on private sector employment. At one point, almost 33% of the county residents worked in manufacturing, and that's a little bit scary when you think about the losses we've seen in manufacturing since the 1990s. Since then, we've managed to diversify, and we're becoming a little bit more urban and rural, or urban than rural in our diversification, in that professional services has grown. The meds and eds, you can see the health and social sector has grown significantly, as well as retail and food accommodations. As I mentioned earlier, we do have a 31-mile lake in the county, so we attract 2.1 million visits a year, mostly from the DC, Baltimore areas, Harrisburg, York, Lancaster. And those kind of folks are used to having connectivity. So I guess there is the advantage of going to the place where your cell phone doesn't work and you can be disconnected from the world, but that only lasts about 20 minutes, and then you want to be connected again. So we do struggle with some of those things. And as you see in the growing sectors, health and social services and professional services, those ones require significant IT services. And so as we want them to grow, we've got to get better IT services available in the county. So when we did a study with a company called Design 9 out of West Virginia, it was 2008. We were looking at projections as to what broadband growth was going to look like in the county. And you can tell from the 1990s to even just 2007, it's growing on a regular basis. And if we break it down into business use, the gray being the high-end users, the blue being the low-end users, it's doubling and tripling on an annual basis. And you'll hear directly from a couple of my companies on what their data needs look like. We're not keeping pace. Verizon and Comcast are not keeping pace in our communities. And quite honestly, being that we're rural and we don't have great population centers, we're the last to get any kind of updates or even decent services. So the broadband that we have available isn't even as high quality as you might get in the Harrisburg, Lancaster markets. So again, what do we need? We are growing in population only because of the 55 plus demographic. We are losing population in the young professionals group. We are losing it in the young families group. And so as we work to fill the workforce pipeline in the future for our companies, we need to get those individuals who have families back in our community. Without proper telecom services, that's going to be very, very difficult, as well as getting some of those jobs back in our community. And we feel that a small investment can make a tremendous impact. And so these are some of the reasons that we feel that. If we go back for a second, let me go back to the diagram of the business park here. There it is. So the darker green shades, the smaller lots here in the front, are pad ready. They're what we call pad ready, means that they've got their utilities to them. They've got water, sewer, electric, and natural gas. The lighter green lots in the back, the larger ones, we're working to develop that. And then, of course, the striped ones are lots that have development on them. We are blessed in a way in that our business park is split between Valley Rural Electric Cooperative and First Energy Electric Cooperative. So can you imagine from a business perspective of being a manufacturer and being able to have two different electrical providers provide redundancy into your building? That's, that doesn't happen very often. And so what we're also looking at is the opportunity to deploy fiber into the business park so that we will have additional telecom capabilities in the park. Kinver, the network, runs, let me show you right here. This is Route 522 that runs down about 30 miles to the turnpike. The Kinver network literally runs right here in front of my business park along telephone poles. So what we're hoping to do is to be able to deploy fiber into the park to be able to give us business opportunities of companies who might have never even considered us before. We've got a tremendous workforce and we have a lot of opportunities. We just need those couple of infrastructure things to push us over the edge so we get on even the short list of companies who are looking to expand into central Pennsylvania. So at this point I'm going to turn it over to Cody from Bonnie Forge, who's going to give you a little bit of perspective of what this could mean to them.
Hi everyone, again my name is Cody Wine from Bonnie Forge Corporation. As Amy mentioned, we are a global manufacturer, locations in Houston, Pennsylvania, China, and Italy as well. One of our biggest problems is our data growth at this point. We went from 2005 a single T1, 2008 we doubled, went with two T1s, 2010 we went to a 45 meg connection, and now in 2014 we're at a 100 meg connection. That's our capacity right now. We're almost reaching that 100 meg limit, and we need to expand on that. Our customers want our product information. They want access to our CAD drawings. They want video conferencing, and those are demands we can't meet right now with our current limit. Since we're reaching almost that 100 meg. With an opportunity like this, we're able to get up to a 1 gig, 10 gig connections. Hopefully lower latency on those connections as well. So that could really help us expand our operations, expand our reach out to our customers, and offer them a little bit more than what we're doing now, and build our business as well. That's really all I have. Corey?
Corey Sisto, Our business, human service business, it's family run, and as such, we wear multiple hats there. So I oversee our developmental programming, human resources, and it was news to me, I have the title of, is it IT services?
Sure.
I think by virtue of I can
Dental.
operate a PC and a Mac, that meant that fell to me in the office. So I am the least tech savvy person probably in the room. That being said, we are one of the largest employers in the county. We have about 150 employees spread out over 14 sites. All of our sites have high-speed internet access, including our site at the industrial park. However, that site has most staff, most consumers that we serve, and has the least capacity. Right now, I'm proud to say we have 2 Verizon DSL accounts that are at the lowest bandwidth available. So it is like living in the Stone Age in terms of internet access. We support individuals with intellectual disabilities. We have contracts with CMS and with the Department of Public Welfare in Pennsylvania. There's a lot of regulatory oversight. We have a lot that we have to do in terms of daily documentation, charting, medical records, record retention, both business and consumer files. And that is just a real challenge at that site. We can't even entertain the idea of going to VoIP and some of the other services that we use at our main offices. The biggest challenge is around shift change, because you'll have anywhere from 10 to 15 staff who are all trying to do their charting and their progress notes at the same time. And when you're doing that with 2 DSL connections, it's kind of one of those situations where if they hear another staff streaming music somewhere in the building, they're wanting to put sugar in their gas tank because it's just, it's tough. So Amy broached the idea of having some type of relationship with Kimber and HCB&I to bring high-speed internet, higher speed than what we currently have into the park. And though our demands are much less than Bonnie Forge, that was just a huge opportunity for us. So in terms of bringing that site up to speed, we're all about it. Additionally, we just recently, and the map's gone there, but we had put a bid on some additional lots in the industrial park because we'd like to relocate our main offices to the business center. And that includes, of course, the economic development of the building, expanding our offices, the potential to expand and hire additional sites, additional staff, and it's right across from our current site. But the biggest hurdle for us is the high-speed internet. The project will not go forward if we don't have some options there beyond DSL. So that I've put the pressure on Amy to make sure this happens, and I'm emailing her to make sure we have some timelines and dates. So that's our interest in this project, bringing our current site up to speed, pun intended, and being able to expand and relocate our main offices there. But again, contingent upon some access to the fiber.
Just to give you kind of an idea here, this is WealthCare. They are a financial services provider who has locations in both State College and Hershey, Pennsylvania. This is their main location here. This in particular business paid for by themselves connection through Comcast, through their business services. He paid for the infrastructure to be laid the whole way through the park simply because he needed technology that bad. And just to kind of give you an idea of where he went with Comcast, despite just making that investment in 2012, the end of 2012, beginning of 2013, he's ready to scrap that investment and move forward with the Kimber project because the speeds that are available are so much higher and better than what he has capable now on Comcast. And we found that Comcast is willing to offer what they call the business class services, but if you're nowhere near their connection lines, you're going to pay significant fees for you to lay your own infrastructure to get it to your site. They're not out there laying it in hopes that businesses will connect. And even when they did this particular project, it was frustrating because they only wanted to build it out for just WealthCare. It wasn't a matter of maybe trying to build it out in a bigger capacity so that they could connect other businesses in the park. We found out after the fact that
we solicited to be a part of that, and they refused. We're number 2 on there. to me, again, as a not tech-savvy person, didn't seem like a far reach for them to connect us, but they refused.
No, you're talking, lot 1 there is about 16 acres, and where 2 is where IFC is located, you're talking about 8 acres. So you're not talking a significant distance down Iroquois Court to the cul-de-sac. And the telecom providers have been increasingly frustrating to work with. This particular park is somewhere along the lines of very close to being at the CenturyLink, Comcast, Verizon connection, and they seem to have gentlemen's agreements over who will or won't work in a particular area. And it's been very frustrating to get deployment. We did work several years ago when I first started in my job in 2007 through the BFRR and the BARP processes. And at that point, they seemed to be working somewhat in getting some of the CSAs deployed. What we did was we actually created a community-wide effort so that I wasn't doing a BFRR for my home, and Corey lived 5 houses down, and he was also trying to do one, and Cody worked 5 houses down and also was trying to do another one. So we tried to coordinate those. And in some parts of the county, we were successful. But when the state and the federal government started working on rolling, I think it's the state who rolled out the requirement that broadband be deployed in all areas of the state by 2015, the BFRR process went out the window, and it's not really done us any good, because even if you were successful in getting your neighbors to sign this petition and submit the BFRR, they were telling us it was 2 years from the time that the petition went in until they were going to deploy in our communities anyways. So we decided to kind of put that aside and go about other routes. We're very excited to be a partner on the Kimber Network. As a 501c3 promoting economic development, we have the same mission as Kimber, to promote economic development and to grow Pennsylvania in more capacities than we can even begin to imagine. The goal is to start with a proof of concept in the park. As you can see, it's only about a 250-acre park. It's not a very large area. But what we'd like to do is be able to connect some of our major corridor businesses on the 522 corridors where the majority of our industrial businesses are located. What we'd like to do eventually is expand beyond the park to provide access to the Mount Union community, and as we kind of begin to expand our footprint to hopefully at some point maybe even all of Huntingdon County. Topography and line of sight are a huge issue in Huntingdon County. We've got a lot of mountain ranges. If it's not, all of our flat ground is more or less developed. The rest of it's on the side of a mountain or it's in a floodplain. We have a lot of developmental challenges in Huntingdon County, but we're excited about the opportunity that this presents. We're looking forward to some opportunities moving forward. So at this point, I'd like to, we left a lot of time for question and answer simply because we weren't quite sure what the audience would be and what kind of concerns you might have or what kind of opportunities you might see for your own communities that we could help you with.
How far along in the process with Mike and the rest of the Kimber staff have you found yourself?
We're pretty far in. At the most recent meeting, we actually had a connection also with a company called Connex, the gentleman sitting right behind you, to help us deploy the technology in 2 different fashions. Most likely, Bonnie Forge will have a wired connection from the line where we connect into the Kimber network into Bonnie Forge's location. But many of our smaller businesses will have a point-to-point connection through radios, which will allow us to give them some greater opportunities at much smaller costs.
Did it take a long time? And give me an idea how long the window was.
We've been working with them for a little over a year.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not been a long or arduous process compared to some of the things that we've worked on.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I understand the argument about making it more attractive for potential future tenants, but to just, I guess specifically a Cody question. If Bonnie Forge gets better bandwidth, is there some expectation that there'll be that Bonnie Forge will do some type of expansion that will result in additional employment?
Maybe that's a question for you as well, because you know the process a little better than I do. We have the permit approved. We're looking at moving a lot of our shipping facilities over to our warehouse. And at this point, we have no infrastructure other than our point-to-point from our main office across the street. So giving us additional infrastructure over there with fiber connectivity would be a big benefit for us. We wouldn't want our shipping and all that to rely on a point-to-point right now without a wired fiber to back it up. So yes, that would give us plenty of opportunity to expand.
And from a retention perspective, this is hugely important to us as we have feared losing wealth care, as we mentioned earlier, and we've already lost the FCI facility.
Amy, we have airflow problems
Oh,
back here.
sure.
Speak up.
Use the mom voice is what you're saying?
Sure, I'll do it.
We're looking at this from a retention perspective as well as from an attraction perspective. We're very concerned about continuing to lose additional companies in our communities who have told us that infrastructure is a huge problem.
When you lost FCI, was that a relocation or did they just downsize?
It was more or less a relocation. However, the relocation occurred in the Middle East, or excuse me, in the Asian countries. Now they did consolidate some into their plant in Edders, which is just outside of York. The majority of the jobs went overseas. But they cited transportation as being one of their main infrastructure issues. And I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, our county has no 4-lane highway access at all. We're a very large county with no 4-lane highway access. And from a business perspective, especially from a company like Bonnie Forge, that's a huge issue. You're getting stuck behind school buses, you're getting stuck behind tractors. It's a little bit of a different world out there.
Can you help an honest student figure out where you are?
Yeah, we can go back to that map, sure. There we are. So we're almost geographically in the middle of the state. Center County is to our north, Blair County is to our west. Interestingly enough, Franklin County, which touches us on the eastern side there, is growing by leaps and bounds with their intermodal facility and some of their transportation options. We are actually working on a rail project in that same business park that would connect us to have rail freight opportunities to the Norfolk Southern Main Line, which runs through the county. So we're looking at a community like Franklin where they are growing and can't accommodate some businesses to maybe consider geographically locating them in Riverview, which touches there on the corner of the county.
What does Franklin have in terms of 4-lane highway?
They would have 76, they would have 30, they would have 70, and they've also got the 81, they've also got the new intermodal facility.
Yep.
Their intermodal facility is amazing.
Yeah, there's two intermodals there. There's CES and then Norfolk and Southern's building a mammoth project at Greencastle near the Maryland line. Have you considered any incubators?
We do have an incubator actually in the community of Huntingdon, which if we go back over to this map, is the larger red area up north where the Port Oneida is. We have a small business incubator with Juniata College, but not in the park. Kimber has been talking to Juniata College as well as potentially getting them on the network as an Institute of Higher Ed. Also, right beside Juniata College, we have a hospital, J.C. Blair Memorial Hospital, which up until about a month ago was independent. They have now joined forces. They didn't merge, but it's an affiliate partnership with Pinnacle Health Systems here in Harrisburg. So a connection via fiber would be a tremendous opportunity for them to provide telemedicine opportunities. And we've also recently found out that Pinnacle Health Systems is considering an affiliation with Hershey Medical Systems, which will provide additional access to patient care in rural communities like ours.
Are
But
those incubators, are they high-tech companies?
no.
Have you looked at anything like Google has done in Kansas City?
We have, actually we're courting a data center, a small one for the business park, but without fiber that project will never go anywhere. It's a New Jersey-based company that we're looking at right now.
You mentioned the impact or the limitations that connectivity provides to, if I have it right, the factory. Okay, and that does surprise me a little bit because I don't think of a factory as a place that needs a lot of connectivity, but I'm learning. Right? And there are limitations within the office part, but in a broader perspective, for the entire county, between the college, the hospitality industry, everything that has to do with all the marinas and boats. Is there a big picture? I mean, are people feeling a lack of access?
Yeah, I'd say that they definitely are. I don't know how, I wish that we were in blue, but this is the lake. It's a 31-mile lake that looks more like a river. It was actually created by the Army Corps of Engineers for flood control purposes. And on the southern edge of the lake going this side here is very mountainous, it's very ridge-like. You really can't access the lake from that side. And it provides a physical barrier almost inside the county. There's one place you can cross here in Lincoln Township, or you can drive out around here, or you can drive out around here. And so you've got your population center here, you've got a small population center here, and then you've got a bunch of boroughs scattered throughout. But keeping in mind that we connect to Center County in the north, we've got a tremendous amount of individuals who live in Huntingdon County because of the lower tax structure, but work in Center County. So we've got people who work at Raytheon, who work at Penn State University, who come home to dial-up connections. Dial-up. So you can understand the frustration of these folks who, you know, they can't even get a network extender in their house to operate their cell phones because they don't have broadband capacity in their homes. And so we held public meetings in 2008 trying to gauge interest in broadband and who had it and who didn't. And so we did one in southern Huntingdon down here. It's a CenturyLink territory. We had about 50 or so people show up. We did 2 in Huntingdon. We did one for the business community and one for the residents. About 25 people show up at those. We did one up here. We had 110 people show up at a public meeting. And if you've ever hosted a public meeting, you're lucky you get 5 people to show up at a public meeting. But this community is organized. They're desperate for service. Right now we're working with a company in State College called Get Wireless, which is trying to help them to get some services that they can't get otherwise. But again, line of sight, this is a very mountainous area. There's a lot of state forest in that area. It's very, very difficult.
Are you aware of I believe there's potentially a FEMA or 911 public safety initiative
Yes.
in this region? Okay.
We're working with our county EMA director, trying to determine where the towers are, what capacity is available on those towers, and is there a way for us to kind of work with them to deploy additional telecom capabilities.
Good.
To what extent are the county or local governments interested in getting engaged in this discussion?
We're kind of lucky in that the current set of county commissioners, one of them used to work for a company called PennNet, which is located in Shea Gap. They do a lot of installation of telecom throughout Pennsylvania and the Northeast. So we didn't have as much trouble with him per se, but we've got 2 other commissioners who we had to do a ton of education on. And so that's at the county commissioner level. And then when you get down into the township supervisor level, and the age demographic, unfortunately, and our township supervisors is upper 60s, they don't get it. They simply don't understand why we need, why can't young professionals live without their PDAs, or why won't people move to this community if we don't have internet? In fact, one of our former county commissioners had the nerve to say to me, well, don't move to rural Pennsylvania if you want those services, because we are rural. That's the point.
I've heard it said this way: my phone works, why do I need a different phone?
Well, as you heard, we need jobs. These are the same people who are complaining that their kids can't come home and live close with the grandkids because there's not a job available to serve that individual's family. And recruiting professionals to Juniata College, which is a great private institution, to the hospital. We have a company called Mutual Benefit Insurance Company located in the borough. They employ about 200 individuals. They've been there for about 100 years. They have a very difficult time providing or recruiting individuals to serve in their upper level staffing positions. I think Bonnie Forge has suffered from some of those same things, and I would assume with medical professionals and meeting those needs that you guys have the same type of problems. So we think this is just going to be one of the major steps to get us to where we need to be. We are not your average rural community in that, yes, you do have some backwards thinkers, but the people who are moving into our communities, who are relocating to our communities, are forward thinkers who are engaged, who want to see us move forward into the next phase of Huntingdon Countyism.
Have you been able to tie any statistics like real estate, the ability to sell your home, better connected versus a non-connected Can you read?
You know, I hadn't looked at it from a residential real estate perspective. Honestly, I don't think we've done any data
I
research
come
on
from a
that.
very small state, the smallest state, and if I said we have the rural area, you'd laugh at me. We actually have the point in the state where DSL doesn't reach anymore, and there's a street that divides it, and on the west side of the street, the houses either don't sell or sell for significantly less than the houses on the east side of the street, which have both. And it's only DSL going there, it's not great.
I will tell you that the realtors do complain about trying to sell houses in some of those areas. Interestingly enough, on the southern side of the lake is where the majority of these second homes are being built to serve Raystown, but they're some of the worst connected areas in the county. So it's been kind of an interesting phenomenon to watch that happen.
I'm
But
moving there next month. So.
But land prices, you can tell very quickly if you're talking to an individual who is located in Huntingdon County or somebody who is visiting. I used to work for a residential contractor, and we built second homes. And people would make comments like, oh, an acre of ground is only going to cost me $30,000 up there? That's it? But you talk to a county resident, they're like, oh my God, that guy wants $30,000 an acre, can you believe it? So it's a very, even just the comparison to Center County is very different. And the taxing structure is, we have much lower property taxes than any of the counties around us. Any other questions? We've got about 10 minutes left if there are any, or we can dismiss early for lunch.
One of the things that I think is interesting is that you're looking at the cost and the results, and one of the things that might be of interest is to look down the road and to try to think about whether or not is there revenue that your involvement with broadband can bring back to you, or
There is the potential for our organization to make a few dollars off of this particular initiative, but our main goal is really to serve the needs of the business community. And we are a membership organization, so when we can meet the needs of the business community, we tend to see our membership revenue go up. When people see that we're doing things to support the business community, that matters. But we will be the intermediary between the business community and the Kinber network. We will be the consumer from Kinber as a 501c3.
Any pushback from the incumbents that you've announced with them?
No, because I don't think they think I can do it.
It's
It's too early in the game.
That's exactly.
You know, we've done our research, we've checked with PUC regulations, we've made sure that we're not violating anything that, because Pennsylvania is a little bit of a weird state when it comes to the utility commission.
No weirder than the other 49.
Good, nice to hear that we're not. But I do foresee in the future a greater interest from those telecom companies once we get this up and running. And so be it. Right now, we don't have anything, we've got to push.
Even that would be a good thing, though.
Some of the telcos are actually interested in working with Kemper. My company's MAW Communications. We're trying to make this work as a Pennsylvania public utility in partnership with a state-sponsored network.
It's great to hear. We've also talked to the rural electric cooperatives who I know in Somerset County we're testing some initiatives to deploy over their power lines, broadband initiatives. They've struggled a little bit with them, but we were looking at that as an option. What we want is what's best for Huntingdon County, and if we're the answer, fabulous. If we're not the answer and we're a partner to the answer, then that's fabulous too.
What section of your county is covered with the rural co-op?
The rural co-op, it's really this section, then this section, then this section. Penelec is kind of through some of the more major areas. Like even if you go out here into Hopewell and Lincoln, it's a different rural electric cooperative than if you're over here.
Okay.
This is Valley and this is New Enterprise. We're kind of a unique hodgepodge, but I think that gives us a significant advantage. I don't know of any other business parks that can claim electrical redundancy from two different power generators. Also keep in mind, we are on the tail side of Marcellus Shale. We're also sitting on top of Utica, so once they figure out how to get down into the Utica Shale play at a cost that's makes it market worthy, we will see drilling activity in Huntingdon County. I don't think we'll see it to any of the extents that you've seen in like the Williamsport like homing areas, as we have the dry gas, not the wet gas, but we do have one active Marcellus well at this point in time.
Is Saxton in Huntingdon County?
How do you know where Saxton is?
Yeah.
I lived there up until about 2 months ago.
I was born in Chambersburg. I know Fox 22 and raised down and all that.
Forgive my French, but there's a website called Where the Hell is Saxton? Because nobody knows
They had the
where
first
it's at.
nuclear plant in
Yes.
the world.
Yes, they did, and it was disassembled in 1990. Saxton is actually right, it's in Bedford County, it's the next county over. But they call themselves the redheaded stepchild of Bedford County. Now, Broad Top, Colmont, these two cities right here are very connected to the Saxton area. They're kind of like they're almost their own place that you need a passport to go to. And I have mine because I married into a family from out there. But again, this is another area where we've got significant investment by tourists building second homes, but you have very little in the way of cell phone and broadband connectivity out here. It's very limited as well.
Their business model is homes passed, and they expect a certain percentage of those homes passed when they build out to be signed up, and they base their business model on that. They won't make the investment if they don't believe they're going to be able to get enough homes passed to meet that 10-15% that they expect to sign up. If this takes off, do you see, I mean, it seems to me like natural that if you are successful in pulling this off the ground, getting it rolling, making it a successful interconnection for high-speed data, do you see the other telecoms coming in and say, well, before they take over our business, we're going to start doing it? Do you think this could push them into actually doing something? Because I live in a county that's even more rural than Huntingdon.
Well, I
And we
discovered
need
that
that.
this morning, that the northern tier, we ain't got nothing on the northern tier. Those northern tier counties are far more rural than we are. I kind of, in a way, hope that happens. And
Yes.
why I say that is, our job is to serve the business community as a business service organization. I don't foresee us serving the residential neighborhoods.
Right.
But I foresee pushback from the residential neighborhoods if they don't have the access to these types of telecom communication services.
They will find out.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
and the word is already leaking out. It's kind of funny who knows and who doesn't. When you have a board of directors that's 21 individuals large, you can't keep anything a secret, even though they sign confidentiality agreements and all that stuff. So, but there is excitement and buzz really starting to build here. And when the town of Mount Union found out that Shirley Township is this area here, the business park is like right here, and this is the borough of Mount Union. When they discovered that we were working on this and the school district's right at the edge of the county, we started getting questions galore. You know, are we eligible? How can we be a partner in this? And so I just foresee it snowballing. What I want to control is the ability to deploy before it starts to snowball. And that's kind of why we've kept it a little bit mum. And the other thing is, selfishly, I don't want any of the other economic development professionals and counties around us stealing my idea. So I would love to be kind of the guinea pig.
Actually, yes, you do.
I want them to steal after I deploy.
Fair enough.
I want them to model after me. Honestly, we're not as backwards of thinkers as people like to think we are. We have a lot of unique capabilities in Huntingdon County. We've got a lot of great individuals. We've got a 4-year liberal arts institution. We've got a branch campus of a community college. We've got a career and technology center. We've also got a branch campus of a business college. For a county of 45,000 people, we have incredible educational opportunities, as well as we've got some humongous companies who are still headquartered. Bonnie Forge is still headquartered in the county. IFC is headquartered in the county. We've got J.C. Blair Hospital still. And honestly, without telecom capabilities, I was worried about the future of a hospital in a rural community. And if we were to lose our hospital in a rural community, you better believe our ability to attract students to Juniata College, our ability to attract young professionals to our community, and our ability to keep those seniors, who are the only reason our population is growing in this community, is huge. Speaking of seniors, Home Instead, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that program. It allows individuals to stay in their home with the assistance of nursing care. they've expressed interest in this because from a business model perspective, if they can hook an individual up in their home, so every morning the individual gets on a scale, they get on a heart monitor, they get on the blood pressure cuff, they check their sugar, all those things can be telecommuted back to the doctor's office so that we know that individual is safe and healthy in their home.
That's a great service.
If you don't have, telecom capabilities in your rural areas, which is where a lot of our seniors are, you're losing opportunities. It is about 12:15. I will be sticking around for the rest of the conference, so if you have any additional questions.
Can I just say something from the Kimber perspective?
Sure, absolutely.
I think Wendy this morning in her address spoke about the fact that, and I remember it specifically, the staff is very excited about some of the economic development opportunities we're seeing. And it's because of people like Amy who get it, who provide just brilliant leadership in their communities that we are excited about these kind of things. We're finding that across the state. Huntingdon County is a pretty mature opportunity for us and one that I think we're going to be moving forward with. But we're finding that same kind of leadership and that same kind of enthusiasm across the state. And it's just infectious. It really, really gets us up in the morning and keeps us going. So it's just a great thing. And we're using our anchor institutions like Bucknell in communities to be able to help facilitate those kinds of things. So I appreciate your participation today. Thank you very, very much. There is another panel that addresses some of these similar kinds of community interest ideas at 2:45, you said, today, when we're going to be talking with a group of business leaders and institutions from Lancaster. So if you want to get another perspective from a urban environment, I think the Lancaster one is also one that I think you would find interesting. Amy, thank you so very much.
Thank you for the
Really appreciate
opportunity.
it.